much. I used to set up my I used to set up my sister's dolls around the house and like put knives in their hands to scare my mum.
That's actually horrifying.
This is why I don't have children, because they're awful.
All right, my friends, welcome back to another Candid conversation with. It is a continuation of our spooky month interviews. All of our October interviews are going to be horror-centric. And today we have yet another developer, but I love interviewing developers. There's lots of cool stuff to talk about. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Chris Yabsley. I make horror video games.
Heck yeah, you do. Do you want to go into like what games people know you for? Because I know what I know you for, and I don't think it's like what the majority knows you for.
Well, I guess my more successful games would be Pigsaw and then The Fruit. I think that they're more current, sort of like successful ones. But some people know me from like Dungeon League, which is like a multiplayer crazy sort of dungeon crawler competitive thing all rolled into one. And then I transitioned across to doing straight horror. So some people know me from the earlier stuff and other people know me from horror. So
yeah, so I'm curious about that. I try to not plan too much because I like to keep, obviously, the conversations candid. But I do like to look into people a little bit. And you and I have just followed each other on Twitter for a while. I play tested The Fruit a long time ago. Couple years ago? I don't even remember when that collection came out. A year ago?
What is time? I don't know. I honestly can't give you an answer there. I don't know.
I don't remember. It felt like it was a long time ago, but like pandemic brain has definitely like I've blanked out. I actually, as an aside, I thought you were gonna hate me, because I remember
why?
because
just seething with hatred.
I thought maybe so for that when I play tested the game, this was The Fruit, and I remember I got really lost somewhere. And like no one else apparently had a problem, just me. Like, leave it to me to be a fucking idiot. And I remember the people being like, we gotta go back and like make sure he makes it more obvious. And I was like, oh my god, this man is going to think I'm an actual idiot and like be so mad that he has to change this whole section of the game because I'm stupid. I was like, no, it's okay. And they were like, no, it needs to be changed.
No, that was your experience was quite common, honestly. It was a lot of people were getting lost in that game, and there was like a lot of like learning experience for me for what I put in that game. So it was like my first stab at kind of doing something a little bit open world-ish. And something that I just had never planned for is that in an open world game, you kind of navigate based on like weenies, which is like, you know, your distant landmarks. And when you are playing a game that is just like really dark and foggy and you're playing in an open world, you just get so disorientated so quickly. So most of the feedback that we got from, like once I like had finished all the base mechanics and story and stuff for that game, it was a case of just navigation. We were just working on how do we get people not be lost in this game. So big learning curve for me there. So your experience was not alone. So
I mean, that makes me feel better. But I feel like you totally nailed it, because I remember when I played it on stream again, I was like, holy shit, I know where everything is. You added like a fun little chase thing with the skull that I wasn't expecting. I like started walking back and I was like, what the fuck is that? Like,
what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? That's new. That's new. Oh my god, none of this. Oh my god, none of this happened. Oh, none of this happened. Oh my god. Oh, I'm getting hit. Oh, I'm getting hit. Oh my god. Oh, this is terrible. Chris? What in the fuck, dude?
It was good. It ended up being my favorite game from the collection, I would say.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that skull bit was like really last minute as well. It was like just had some time and I was like, you know what? No, the navigation I'm sick of working on navigation stuff because we put the signs and the map and the book and these landmarks and lights, and I was like, I'm done with this. I want to do something more fun. I'm going to put skulls in the game, and then that's how that ended up happening. Yeah.
It's a really cool game. It has so much to it, and it is so different from everything else I've seen, at least on your itch page. So I've obviously Pigsaw is a really big one for people. But like you are it looks like primarily like a pixel artist, and you've gone with that style. And then the fruit was such a diversion from that. Like, what made you want to do that?
Just trying to branch out. I think every time I've worked on games in the past, because I come from a pixel art background, the first like games that I made were all pixel art, and I just found my skills like, growing in that, and it was fun, and I love that space, and I still love like a pixelated look and whatnot. And then I moved into low poly, which is like kind of pixel art adjacent. I was able to carry across a lot of my skills there. But when it came time to do the fruit, I just thought to myself, why don't you just make a game and try and make it look as good as you possibly can in this time frame that you have? And that's what it was for me. I just didn't constrain myself to a medium that was, from the past or whatnot, because I've always done that. I've always kind of created these rules for myself and try to create within, a game that came out in the 80s or the 90s or whatnot. And the fruit was just, to me, just make a game look as good as you possibly can, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
Do you think you'll continue doing any games in that style, or were you like, that's enough?
Yeah, I don't think it matters to the people who play my games as much as it matters to me. I just kind of just move between them. I'm not sure if I would do another like sort of low poly game like Pigsaw, or if I would try and, I guess, have high res textures and stuff like I did in the fruit. They're all dear to me. I don't mind.
Yeah, you've got a cool variety. Do you? I guess I haven't asked. How long have you been developing games for?
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you formally trained, or you just kind of got into it?
Formally trained in music and sound. Wow. So yeah.
Actually,
so
I was curious about that because you have an IMDb page, which is very cool, and I saw games on it, but then I saw you're a composer. Tell me about that. That's really cool.
So I started as a composer, and I was originally wanted to be a musician, and then playing on stage and stuff. It didn't end up kind of being for me. And then I transitioned into film because I was like, I kind of enjoy more like producing and working on these sort of behind the scenes sort of stuff. So I composed for a few short films, but ultimately found that I hated working with directors because they're a pain in the ass. And then I started getting interested in games, and I'd always been interested in games, but like more from a professional side and getting involved in making them. So I was doing sound and composing for different things here and there, and that's how ultimately I got into developing them. I was like, it was hard to find work and break into the industry, so I was like, I'll make my own small games and do music for those, and then eventually that ended up kind of taking over, and I ended up primarily developing games and then just doing the sound and composing for them once they were finished. So
that actually makes a lot of sense, because the first thing I noticed in Pigsaw is that the sound design is absolutely insane. Like, it really genuinely is intense the minute you get into the game, and I was like, oh fuck. Like, Jesus Christ.
That's a very a compliment that hits me in the heart, honestly, because it's like Pigsaw is a game that wears its PSX kind of influence on its sleeve, but its sound design is not. Its sound design is just completely contemporary. And I try to whenever I do pixel art, or whenever I've used mediums that are from the past, I usually don't do that with the sound. I'll update things, because we all have rose tinted glasses, so it's nice to just update things. And yeah, Pigsaw, I definitely just tried to make it sound as terrifying as possible. I remember just sitting around, but before I even had visuals in the game, I would sit there and play around with pig squeals and down pitching them and putting delays on them, and then combining them with a certain I had so many different sounds of chainsaws and stuff like that, and I would just find the one that was the most uncomfortable, and kind of combine all those things together. So
It was horrifying. Yeah. You did a great job. I'm curious how you did you just teach yourself programming? To me, the gap between being a composer and then making a game, visuals, everything. I mean, I know you said you have pixel art background, but what is the programming side of this that you just jumped into?
So towards the end of my degree, when I was studying music, I had some subjects that I had to sort of finish up, so I was kind of studying, but just part-time, and so I had some extra time on my hands because I was only working part-time as well, so I started teaching myself how to program, from YouTube actually.
Wow.
And you know, there's plenty of good stuff out there. Like you can learn anything off YouTube these days, honestly. But I stuck with it for a while, kind of stopped doing it for a while, came back to it, back and forth. Dungeon League, I would honestly consider the game that really sort of like stepped up my programming, and it took me 4 years to make Dungeon League. So if you think about it, it's like kind of like a degree. Like that was what I consider my degree training, because from the start of the Dungeon League, I would consider myself a shit programmer, and then by the time I was finished, I consider myself a competent programmer. So yeah.
And did you make that one on your own? Like that one's totally you.
I did a lot of it by myself, but I ended up bringing on a friend towards the end to help me with a lot of stuff, because that game ended up becoming an online game, which was almost a total waste of time. But
oh no,
he helped do all that stuff. So
why was it a waste of time?
It's just because it's an indie game that has like online play. It's just like
right.
you need to have a solution or a scaling model for that these days, because it's like people are just not going to play your game. Like we have matchmaking, but I doubt anyone has ever successfully used it, because the chances of there being two people who are looking for a game at the same time in Dungeon League is next to none. So
yeah, that is really tough. I mean, it was a good learning experience, I'm sure, but tough.
Huge learning experience.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you get into horror?
I've always been a fan of horror. Like even when I was a kid, I've always been into horror and horror video games and whatnot. When I was a kid, I was really into Child's Play. That was one of my first favorite horror films. Wow. I just loved it so much. I used to set up my my sister's dolls around the house and like put knives in their hands to scare my mum.
That's actually horrifying.
This is why I don't have children, because they're awful.
Yeah, they are. You would get that back tenfold if you had a kid. Like it would.
I know, right?
Torture you. Wow. So you were fun to grow up with.
Yeah, and the way kids like talk about like, oh, there's a man like in the room, and it's like they all do it. It's terrifying.
Absolutely the fuck not. They like show up in the middle of the night at the end of your bed, and you're like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "There's a man in my room," and it's like, "No, we're not doing this. I can't."
I'd be diving under the bed. I'm like, "You go check it out, then. I'll wait here."
Yes. Yeah. For people who like love horror as much, it's like that's a big nope. Like we are selling the house. I know what happens here. We're not doing this.
Yeah, just burn it down and leave. Yeah, done.
Yeah. Well, okay. I meant to talk about this like a little bit later, but it's come up. It's come up, and I feel like this is something we need to talk about because it's going to be on everybody's minds. We need to talk about your cat. We have to.
Fair.
He's I've actually followed him on Instagram longer than I followed you on Twitter.
That's pretty funny.
Which I think he just like ended up on my Twitter page, and then I was like, this cat must have an Instagram. And he did. Tell me all about your cat, please. Why does he look like that? And is he just the best boy?
He's born for internet fame. He just has a face that is just like everyone's like loves. Yeah, he's an exotic short hair. He looks like that all the time. His tongue is out all the time because his tongue is like too long. It's just too long for his mouth. So it just kind of sits out a lot. So
does it get dry? Do you have to like...
No, he puts it in every now and then. Okay. If you just touch him on the tongue, he just puts it away, like pulls it back in his mouth. But yeah, it's out a lot.
I'll have to like post a picture of your tweet that went viral. That must be where I saw it first, because it was something about I have to look at this eldritch horror every day.
Yeah, that did some serious numbers, that tweet. That's, more viral than anything I've ever made. I was like doing some stats on it after that post as well, talking about how the video game Dungeon League that I'd spent like 4 years on, like the post of like, hey, I've released this game that I've worked on for 4 years, got like, the engagement was like 0.05% in comparison to my cat just existing.
Have you considered putting your cat in Dungeon League?
I know, right?
Maybe that would do it.
He's been in pretty much every video game since, honestly. So he was, he's in Pigsaw, he's in the fruit, yeah.
Where's he in the fruit? Did I see him?
Maybe. He's in the swamp area.
I'm going to have to do some Googling. Maybe I just have to boot up the game again and find it, because I don't remember that at all. But we've established I am an idiot, and like I will not find things that are incredibly obvious in your game. So that's probably on me.
It's definitely not obvious. It's like you kind of like some people find it, some people don't. But it's in the swamp area. Like the swamp is very linear, and if you follow it out to like the old church, and then you come back getting chased by the skulls. If on the way there you keep an eye out for any side paths, there's like a side path where you go through the swamp for a little bit. Yeah, you can find him out there.
That
spoilers
is incredible. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and then I'll put up a video of me doing it over this because I'm incredibly. I love your cat. I'm sure you love your cat too.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Yeah, you do. What is he like? 2, 3?
Oh, he's
3,
a baby.
Yeah, he's very young.
Oh my god, he's got his whole career ahead of him.
Yeah, he's just starting out. He's just successful and young right now.
He's successful and young. You could really, like, you know how Grumpy Cat got really big? I feel like Gremlin could also get just like on pajama pants posters, like, you know, the hang in there poster with the cat. That yeah.
Yeah, that could absolutely work. It's like comes in like a huge wave because of that one post. Like we got a whole bunch of emails and like of just different journals and things like that and websites and stuff like wanting to write about him and stuff, which was absolutely hilarious. Like it was just so ridiculous, and they're just asking you the most absurd questions about your cat. It's really bizarre.
Wait, like what? Are they like, what kitty litter does he use?
Yeah, well, did you, there's, on my banner in Twitter, there's like, I can't remember here, I have to look up, it's, the way it's written, it's a foreign website.
And of someone who was writing an article about your cat, and they like said something weird.
Yeah. The title is so good. The developer showed his cat and scared people. It's all about the devil's eyes, and it's impossible to look away from them.
Oh my god. Wow.
The way that's worded is just brilliant. I love it so much.
Do you use opportunities like that to promote your game? Like your cat is obviously getting free real estate. Like is it like, hey, also I develop things.
I have no shame. In all these articles, my Twitter name at the time was Pigsaw Out Now because Pigsaw had just come out as all this happened. So yeah, I have no shame. I used it to sell some Pigsaw copies.
Good. I'm glad. Your cat better. He's not paying rent. He better be doing something. Exactly.
He's earning rent. And I had this like post as well underneath. I think it was the viral one actually, where it's I said to them, if you buy a copy of Pigsaw, like, and you just like post your receipt here, I'll feed him a treat and send you a video of it.
Oh my god, you're a genius.
So many people did it as well, and I was like, they just love to see him just like eat a cat snack.
And did you follow up? You were like, yeah, I'm gonna send you a video of him eating a treat.
Yeah.
Was it the same video for everybody though? I absolutely did that.
No. I literally fed him a different treat each time.
Wow, that's some commitment to the game.
Yeah.
You can't say otherwise though, because like if this video were to get out to the masses and you had said, yeah, it's the same video, people would be pissed.
Yeah, I'd get cancelled over that. That's
If you were gonna go down for anything, it would be not giving your cat enough treats.
Yeah, I mean, I was giving him treats anyway. It was just a case of filming them and then putting it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like, it was just one extra step there, so it was fine.
And he does have an Instagram account. We're not going to talk about your cat the whole time, I swear to God, but he does have an Instagram.
He does have an Instagram, yeah.
Which you don't manage.
No, I don't manage.
Okay. It's, just wondering if that was like part of your developer duties. You were like, I also manage Gremlin's Instagram.
No, that'd be too much for me. I'd just do that.
So I'm curious, how did you get involved? We're hard segueing here. How did you get involved with Dread XP?
It was because of Pigsaw. So Dylan Rogers, who does Gloomwood, found it naturally, organically, and he recommended it to David Szymanski, who played it on one of their streams, and then Dread ended up hiring David Szymanski to do the Hunt collection, and my name came up because of he'd played Pigsaw, and so
was that something? That was it. Did you know David Szymanski at that point?
Yeah, I'd played Dusk. Yeah, I love Dusk.
Was that like the craziest thing to have him be like, "Do you want to make a game?"
Yeah, it was really cool. I'd like played Dusk, and I'd met Dave Oshry like years before Dusk got exploded. Like I just met him at conventions and stuff like that, and I'd played early builds of Dusk, so I didn't expect it at all to be as successful as it was, and just kind of have this boomer shooter resurgence happen. Like no one, I think, predicted that at all. But yeah, it was really cool to just like work with someone who, you know, who'd made something that was really cool. And on top of that, like at that point, I became more interested in David's other work as well, and checking out his other horror stuff, his more minimal stuff. And I was like, this guy's really talented. Like he's doing a lot with a little. Like, you know, Dusk is just one side of what he does, and the other stuff is like the new game that he brought out, Iron Lung, was just like a testament to how much he does with so little. So yeah, it was definitely a pleasure to work with him. So yeah.
Do you take any inspiration from any of the people you've worked with, or like what games have inspired you to do what you're doing?
Yeah, honestly, all the people I follow on Twitter inspire me. I mean, that's what I keep my following down to. I don't follow heaps of people, but I make sure that everyone I follow like is inspires me in some way, so that my feed, every time I turn on my Twitter feed, I kind of feel a little bit guilty, and I'm just go back to work, like so that I can see the cool shit that they're making. Like, you know,
you're like, I shouldn't be on Twitter. I should be working right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, but those guys that I just mentioned, yeah, David and Dylan, both making cool shit. What else off the top of my head?
What did you grow up playing? Just out of curiosity.
What did I play? I played, honestly, like just a lot of different things. The close games to my heart would probably be like Zelda on like Game Boy. I played that a lot. Just Link's Awakening, I played a hell of a lot of that. And then as I got older, when I was a teenager, I mostly got into like competitive games like Counter-Strike and things like that.
Oof.
Yeah.
That really forms a person.
Yeah. I was pretty angry there for a while.
You and everybody else.
Yeah, I know, right? If you go down like the competitive gaming, like, you know, path, and you get right into it, you're at least a little bit angry most of the time.
Like constantly for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's part of your experience.
Yeah.
And then like I still do that now. Like I still jump into games of like Dota and like Hunt are like competitive games that I play at the moment, and they break my soul a little bit, or I have the best time in the world. It's like one of the two.
That's like, what keeps you coming back to competitive games. Is it's like it's a high, or you are just a trash can, and you will never recover. That's how I feel about Overwatch. Exactly. I feel it.
And like when you're beating other people, you know what you're doing to them. You're like, I'm giving you the shit experience, and there's a part of you that's happy about that. It's very human.
Was any of that like, I guess, inspiration for wanting to make Dungeon League like an online competitive game where you like this? Yeah, this is it. I want people to feel like this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We put emotes and stuff like in our game and everything, and everything was supposed to be just the right amount of toxic, you know, just a little bit, like friendly toxicity.
Yeah. I think you should start putting like just a dash of toxic in every game. Like, even if it's not competitive, I feel like there's a way to work in a little bit of toxicity. Yeah,
I agree.
We
just
could
like, find a way to fit in. Yeah.
We're making games together now.
I think all the games that I like make have a little bit of like a joke in them, a little bit of like they don't take themselves too seriously, and honestly, that's what I think is missing from a lot of like horror in general, is that horror typically takes itself too seriously the entire time.
Yeah.
And I enjoy some like downtime, you know, like, you know, make humor, you know, be lighthearted about the things that are going on, because it's a reset. And then when you go back into the horror, it feels fresh and, you know, scary again. So yeah, I do try and inject some of that like other attitudes into my games.
Can you think of any big games that you feel like you've played recently, let's say within the past like 2 years, that you feel also like has that vibe, like doesn't take themselves too seriously, and that's like prime? I'm giving you the
Resident Evil games. Yeah. The Resident Evil 2, the remake, I think has some nice balance of like, you know, kind of super scary moments, but then some super ridiculous stuff as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what else have I played recently? Darkwood takes itself quite seriously, but I love that game.
It's so
one of the
good.
most, it's probably the most organically scary game I've ever played.
Yes.
Yeah, and then Stalker. I think Stalker's like, lightheartedness comes through the memes and the community that likes Stalker, so yeah, it has a bit of a humor element to it as well, I think.
I don't think I've played Stalker. Maybe I gotta
You absolutely should.
look it up really quick. Oh, I have seen it. What year did this come out? 2007.
Yeah, it's a pretty old game.
Wow. Oh, you know what? I feel like I just saw it recently. Is there like a resurgence of this game for some reason? Why did I just see it recently?
Stalker 2 was in development, but it's made in the Ukraine, so development is halted, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah, okay. I will add this to my
But you
list.
You should play the original. All you need to do, there's lots of mods and stuff for it. Just install Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, and then there's a patch for it called the Reclamation Project, and that's all you need.
Is it
Play
like
the vanilla game.
you need to have the patch to make it functional?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's one of the first open world games ever made.
Yeah.
It has so many bugs. And honestly, the Zone Reclamation Project doesn't even fix all the bugs. It just kind of fixes the real bad ones, and that's it. But honestly, there's a dialogue that you have with the game, and I've talked to like some people get this and agree with me, and other people are just like, what are you talking about? But like the jank of a game can sometimes like just enhance the experience.
Oh,
and in Stalker,
absolutely.
like the jank is part of it. Like, you just don't trust the game anymore. Like, fuck you, game. Like, you've like killed me in such unfair ways. I'm going to like get you. Like, you take every advantage you get. If the AI bugs out, if anything happens, you take full advantage of it because the game is so cruel to you all the time. And so, yeah, it ends up being fun that way.
It is occasionally. That makes me think of, have you ever played Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines?
I have.
Jesus, one of my favorite games. And also
Yeah.
borderline unplayable unless you have a patch for it, but still so easy to crash, so easy to glitch it out and do weird shit. But it totally adds to like the way that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. The jank becomes part of the experience, and it's impossible to separate the two. Because if Stalker was a hyper-polished game, it would literally be worse for it. There's just no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. You have to start programming extra jank into your games.
Oh, don't worry. It just comes along by default.
it just comes with the territory now.
Yeah, when I released Pigsaw, it had heaps of problems, and I would just watch YouTube videos of people playing it and watch them complain about stuff, and then go and fix it and just patch it.
How do you? I wonder about this. How do you like separate yourself? I guess you have to be like a really like, I don't know what kind of person, but like, how do you separate yourself when you're watching someone stream or play your game, and they're like, "This is shit," and you're like, "Guess it's shit."
I have the thickest skin,
Do you?
honestly. These like, yeah, absolutely. Especially just if you make and release stuff on the internet, and it's like you are putting yourself just out there. People are going to say all sorts of stuff about you, especially like Pigsaw has like vegan connotations, and the fruit has like a gay romance. Like, I've had some pretty nasty stuff said to me. Like,
wow.
So you get used to it,
Yeah.
and then yeah. But whatever. Like, I understand that when people say really nasty stuff, it doesn't really have anything to do with what I'm creating. It's just that they're unhappy as people. Like, honestly,
That's a good way to look at it.
that's how I think about it. Because like, I play games that I don't like all the time, but I don't go harass the developers. Like, because
It's such a bizarre.
I'm a stable individual.
Right. You're like, I'm a fucking adult, and I like don't.
Yeah, I'm a fucking adult.
I
Like, I played a bad video game. So fucking what?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had someone like really big play your game?
Yeah. My first experience with that, actually, I'll say that because it's funnier. My first experience was Cinnamon Toast Ken playing a game I made called Crappy Turd, which was
Is that horror?
Flappy Bird. It was a Flappy Bird clone. It was just a really bad game. I made it for a jam in like 48 hours.
Hell yeah.
And then released it on like Android and whatnot, and he ended up playing it, and that was my first brush with like knowing that whatever you put out there, even if it's really bad, sometimes someone will grab it and play it, and suddenly like millions of people have seen what you've made. Yeah, but Pigsaw did well. There's lots of people who have uploaded on YouTube. A few videos have like a couple of million views and stuff on it. So
wow. And you used to upload to video. Whoa, you used to upload to YouTube. My brain just melted there for a second. When I was looking you up, I saw you used to do like how-to pixel art videos.
Yeah. Once upon a time, when I had more time, I've always like wanted to go back to doing that YouTube channel. It was fun, and it grew so just.
It's not a small
fast
channel
as well. I was like really surprised. I kind of wasn't ready for it. It was just like I just did it, and I think that's what I learned from doing that channel as well, is that if you genuinely offer something to a community, like how quickly that community can grow if what you're offering is actually wanted. And that's like when people ask me about like, you know, getting a following and building a community and stuff like that, it's like offer something that they actually want. And so, you know, I was giving like it because I was developing games and using pixel art, and then showing people how to do the pixel art that I was using in games that were actually getting released. And for a lot of people, that was really inspirational. Like I still get people coming up to me at conventions saying that they learned pixel art from my videos, and it's like, man, that's a long time ago. Thank you.
That's so cool. And the fact that you like learned programming, like you said, from YouTube, you were learning from other people, and now there are
exactly
tons of people that can learn pixel art from you. And maybe has anyone ever told you they've like started designing a game because they learned from your pixel art?
Yeah. A few people have.
That's so cool.
Yeah, which is just passing on the good karma there. Yeah, I learned from YouTube, so you know others can learn for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I am curious. I don't know if you can talk about what you're working on now, or like what takes up your time at the moment.
I can actually,
Ooh.
because it just got announced. I'm working on Creepshow.
Like the movie.
The game.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, I know there was like something coming out with Dread XP that was happening, but they were also like making, I don't know, I don't keep track of them very well. But that is super exciting. So I guess tell me a little about like your role. Like, are you doing this alone? Are you doing this with other people?
So I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about
okay.
it, because all they've done is literally announce the title. I'm a programmer and sound designer on it. But yeah, it's based on the series that is on Shudder. And we'll be adapting that into a game. Yeah.
That's super exciting.
Sorry, that's pretty nondescript.
No,
I
totally
say,
get it. There
I can't say heaps about it.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that is kind of getting back? I mean, you're still making a game, but like, it's kind of going back to your roots as like a composer with like movies and stuff. Do you feel more comfortable doing that work, or like, is it more you'd rather just be designing your own game?
It's a bit of both. I wanted to work with a team. I wanted to not have like just complete responsibility for a while. And I spoke to and Ted about this and whatnot. Ended up organizing sort of a place on the team. So yeah, it's good. It's a nice change of pace. I think I'm just getting a bit older and a bit more tired as well. So making an entire game by myself is just such a daunting task these days. Like the time that I spent making like the Pigsaw and the fruit and stuff like that was like a lot of lost sleep and like late nights and all sorts of stuff. And I just get into like just a crazy creative like binge, and it's super exhausting. So it would be nice to like, you know, work on this team and just have a little bit more balance in my life. Yeah, so yeah, I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm already starting to get in the swing of things. We're already starting to work on it now. So yeah, it's good.
That's awesome. You were talking about getting, you know, a lot of sleepless nights. And I feel like with every developer so far that I've talked to for this series, we have touched a little bit on burnout. And how easy it is when you're an indie dev, and when you're a dev for anything, but like, has there ever been a point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah, plenty of times. Yeah. Towards the end of Dungeon League, that was one of the roughest experiences of my career. I definitely didn't want to develop anymore. I wanted to do other things. And I wanted to move on from that game in particular. And most devs will have this experience where it's like you always want to try and finish a project before you hate it, because there's always a time, there's a ticking time bomb on whatever you're working on where you'll just want to move on. The grass is greener. Every other idea you've ever had will start to look suddenly very enticing, and you'll just want to stop what you're doing. So for me, that's why I ended up making games like the Pigsaw and the Fruit and stuff, is because I knew I could make them in like a smaller amount of time, not even spend a year on them, just a few months sort of thing. And I was intending to just keep doing that for a while until these opportunities with Dread came up. So
yeah. And it seems like it's worked out very well for you so far.
It has worked out very well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. This way I won't burn myself out.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, like, fingers crossed. Like, they seem to have very good work-life balance.
No, that they do.
Yeah.
It's really good. So yeah.
Well, awesome. All right. Do you want to just shout out your socials, anywhere you want people to find you?
Yeah, just Chris Yabsley Dev is my Twitter handle. I have a link tree there, and that shows everything that I do, so you can follow everything from there.
Heck yeah. And I'll put it in the description and all that fun stuff. Well, thanks for hanging. I appreciate it. I always enjoy talking to devs, specifically fellow meme lords like yourself. And that is it for this episode. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Thanks for having me.